Yeah, I'm starting recording. So when multiple threads accessing same object, so there might be a chance of returning an invalid data. So we need to synchronize the threads when they are accessing the common object. So we will take the producer consumer problem to solve this, to understand this synchronization. So what is producer consumer problem? So producer is producing some items and consumer is consuming the items. So they are using a common place. So producer will place the items in a box and consumer will consume the items from that box. So when producer stops putting the items, consumer has to wait. So it has this, consumer cannot consume the items if producer does not place any item in the box. So consumer has to wait till the producer has to keep the items in the box. So we will take small example. So I will take item box. So I can put any number of items. I'll just put strings, objects. So I will have put and get methods on the item box. So somebody can put the item and someone can get the item. So this is the box. So anyone can put the item and anyone can get the item. Now we will create a producer who will keep the items. So we will make this producer as thread. So when we make it as a thread, we need to implement the run method. So in the run method, we will continuously place the items. In the run method, we will place the item in the box. Similarly, we will define the consumer. So consumer will also have access the same item box. So he will not put the item, he will get the item from the item box. So we will print with the name of the thread. Right. So we have the producer and we have the consumer and we have the item box. And now we will have a program to test this. So we need an item box. So we need a producer. So we need to pass the box object reference so that he can place the items in the box, and name of the producer. Similarly, consumer. So for the producer and consumer, we have passed the same box object because he is putting the objects in the box. Same box object we need to pass to the consumer so that he can read from the box. Now we will say p dot start c dot start. So when I start the thread p producer, he will put the item, and when he start, he will consume the item. Now we will run this program. So consumer has read the item. So it is not always guaranteed that the P will place the item before consumer starts. So we got the exception here, you can see the exception. So it doesn't need that we will get this exception always. It depends. See, now we did not get the exception. So it depends on how the threads gets executed, how threads started and how they entered into the run block. So we wanted to synchronize this. Because as we discussed, when we are using threads, we cannot control the when they will start and when their execution time will be allocated. So for that reason we need to synchronize these two threads so that we will not get this kind of exceptions. So how can we synchronize the threads? So consumer should wait till the producer produce the item. So what should I do? So if there are no items in the box, so if there are no items in the box, we should wait. So wait will throw the checked exception. We need to handle this exception. So what it will do? So in case if the item start size is 0, if there are no items, it will go to wait state. So when wait method are called on a thread, so it will go into wait state. So how will it be notified? So the producer after placing the item, so it can notify. So you need not specify the object reference here because the threads waiting on the box object will be notified after producer places the item. So now we will run our test. So we should call notify from here. After adding the item on the box, so we will notify the thread. So here the problem is the methods are not synchronized, I think. So as these methods are not synchronized, so these two threads we are creating, they are operating on the same object. As these methods are not synchronized, so both the threads accessing this item list same time. So there is some mismatch is happening. So we need to avoid that. We need to use the synchronized. So that's what we are discussing now. The synchronized is the keyword. Use it to synchronize the threads when accessing the object. So when we call the synchronized on the object and the method, so no other thread can access this object when the synchronized method is getting executed. So we are calling the put method in a synchronized. So the item will gets placed in the box, then it will be notified. So what it is trying to notify is, so it is first adding, so when we don't use synchronize, it is adding the item, and here it is checking the size, and it is trying to notify before there is a wait. So that is the reason the problem is we are getting the issue. So because we synchronized, the issue gets resolved. So like this we can synchronize the threads using synchronized keyword and wait notify methods. So when you call wait, so the thread which is accessing this object will go into wait state until the notify gets called on the same object. So when the notify gets, I think we can call this notify not only from here. Okay. So again there is a synchronization problem. So we should call it in the object. So to run the thread in the background, you can use the method setDaemon, so that the thread will be running in the background. That is about threads. Yeah. So using Java, how can we read from the console, or how can we write from the console, or how can we read from file, how can we write to file? So there are so many IO devices. So how can you read and write from those IO devices in Java? So in Java there are two types of handling with the IO devices. So one is byte based, other one is character based. So byte based classes are used for reading the bytes from the IO device. So the IO device can be either hard disk or printer or any other things. And character based classes used to read the characters. The bytes are a single byte and characters are 2 bytes. So input stream and output stream are the super classes. So you can see the class hierarchy, and buffered input stream is used to read multiple bytes at a time from any IO device. Similarly, file input stream is used to read bytes from the file on hard disk. So similarly, output streams are used for writing data, writing bytes to the file or output stream or console. Similarly, we have the character based classes which will read characters and write characters to the IO device like files or hard disk. So we will see the examples of this, how can we read. So we will write some data to file and we will read data from that file. So first we will go with byte streams, byte classes. So we are creating a file output stream for writing to this file. So you can check, so if the file doesn't exist, it will create the file and it will write to that file, or you can, using file object, you can check whether the file exists or not. If not, you can create the file. So the file class has the APIs to check whether the file exists or not. So if the file doesn't exist, you can create the file. Similarly, there are so many other APIs available on the file. So can read or can write. So it can used for checking the permissions on the file. So normally we used to have the permissions on the file: read, write, and execute. Create file, delete file, and so you can check the file whether the file is a normal file or is it a directory. So you can use directory method will return whether the file is a file or directory. So makeDir method can be used for creating the directories. So make dir is used for creating the single level directory. Suppose if I am using some x/y/z, so this whole hierarchy will get created if you use the make dir's function. So it has throwing some checked exceptions. So either you can handle or you can throw it back. So if you throws the exception back, so it should be handled by the calling function. So this main method is called by the Java runtime environment. So this exception will be handled by the Java runtime environment and it will throw the exception back to the console. So the byte streams will not accept the characters like this. So we need to convert them into bytes. So on string class we have the API. So when you define the string, on string class you have the API called getBytes. So you can use the getBytes to write. So once you write to file, you can close the file. So once the writing is completed, when you create the instance of it, the file reference will get created. So when you close it, so the file pointer will get closed. So now we will see whether we have any file like that or not. So we don't have any abc.txt over here. So now I will run this program. So the file gets created with data hello world. So how can I read from the file? So like this file output stream, we have the file input stream. So the read will return the byte code. So when end of file is reached while reading, so it will return the value -1. So it will read byte by byte. So in a loop we will read until it reaches the end of file. So it has read in the form of bytes. So this byte data we have typecasted and converted to character. Because we have did println, so it is printing in the new line each character. So now we are able to print the data in the file. So it will read bytes. So we are converting that bytes into characters again back, and we are printing on the console. So here we have seen how to write bytes to the file and how to read the bytes from the file. So here we are reading the character by character. So we can read multiple bytes using the another stream called buffered input stream. So you can create a chain of these stream classes. So it can take any other stream as input. So we can link this stream file input stream to this buffer input stream. So buffer input stream has the capability to read the specified number of bytes. So I wanted to read 1000 bytes. So when end of file is reached, it will return -1. Because it's a sequence of characters is used. So here we did not read character by character. So you can notice this, even if I use println, so it will print in a single line. So earlier when I used println, it was reading character by character and each character is printed in a new line. Now even if I use println, it is printing in a single line. So it's reading 1000 characters at a time from the file and it is printing that. So like this input streams, we can use character streams. So the file output stream, you will have the file writer. So you need not convert it to bytes, you can directly write to as bytes. Similarly, we have file reader. So you will have the buffered reader. So it will not read bytes, it will read characters. That's it. Both are same. Earlier he was using byte streams. Here you are using character streams. So buffered reader has the facility to read line by line. So using buffered reader you can read line by line and you can print that. So till the data is null, it will read from the file and it will print the contents of the file. So like this you can read and write from the files. Similarly you can read from the console and you can write to console. For writing to console you are using system.out. So here if you see the out parameter in a class is the print stream. So it will print the data on console. The in parameter is on input stream. So it will read the data from the console. Suppose if we wanted to take user input from the console, so system.in will give you the reference to the input stream console out. So if you enter something from the console, you can read from the system.in input stream. So there are some utility classes available like scanner. So it can be used for reading from console. So it will read from the scanner will read from the input stream system.in. So like this input stream you can use the files also, so that the scanner will read from the files. So scanner has the APIs. like read next, next integer, next. So I am reading the text and I am printing it. So it is waiting for the input. So whatever I enter, it will print that. So we are just printing the what user entered. So I am running the program. So whatever be the user entered, when he press enter, we will print it. So to read continuous lines, you can keep it in a loop. So you can put it in an infinite loop. So this loop will not terminate. So it will be a infinite loop. So if yes is end, I will break the loop. So till I press end, it will accept my inputs. The program is terminated when I press end. So like this, you can read from the console or you can read from the file. So system is the utility class. It has the static variables out and in, so which are used for writing and reading from the console. So this is a public static final stream reference.